All right, everybody, welcome to the StratiVentures industry webinar. My name is Diego Mello, and this is brought to you as a sense of communicating to the real estate investor industry out there. We put this webinar on every other Monday, so just follow us along every other Monday, in which we'll have different topics. You can also visit us at investorrealestatetraining.com. And there you'll see the events tab, and in the events tab, you'll be able to see all the up and coming webinars that we have. Plus, you can also find us on all the social media platforms, just basically under StratiVentures. To talk a little bit about my company, the topic for today is going to be called Co-Living Passive Income to the Max. It's a very unique platform of residential housing for the affordable housing arena, and now it's opened up, guys, to the student housing, to the military housing, to the traveling nurse arena, because as we all know, rents and markets have become a little tight. We have to start thinking outside the box if we are passive investors, and knowing that the rents will be paid, and most of all, giving great housing to the affordable housing arena, primarily through our partners at PadSplit. My company, StratiVentures, was established in May of 2012, and what we like to call ourselves is a full-service real estate investing company that has four main prongs of the real estate industry, which is the acquisition analysis, real estate services, project management and contracting, and funding. So for those of you that are new to the real estate investment world, you should definitely reach out to us and get to know us a little better, because I know we have tools and we've got services there that will really help you in the business of real estate investing, which we all know does carry a high level of risk. Right here is our core team for StratiVentures. These are members that work directly with a lot of the members in the company, and they're there to help align themselves, mitigate risk, and most of all, make sure that their experience with us is great, and also know that we're here to cultivate the mindset of what we call an investor, in which I like to tell people, what does a real estate investor do? And I always tell them that a real estate investor analyzes, acts, invests, and makes profit with one word in mind, and that word is risk. So remember, at the end of the day, we are risk managers, asset managers, risk mind type people, not emotionally charged, what we like to call HGTV goers, as what the industry really was cultivated on. A little bit about myself. I was born in Colombia at the age of 4, came to the United States. I've lived all my life pretty much here in Houston. I'm married to my wife, Kate. I have my son, Aiden. I was a mortgage broker and asset manager prior to 2012 when I started investing, in which I found out that the world of real estate investing was cultivated around the mortgage debacle back in the 8s, 9s, and 10s, which created this environment that we have now, which is the high level risk of investing based off of many different paths, many different risk tolerances. But most of all, everybody thinks it's easy to do this. Unfortunately, it's not. And now with that said, it's important that we know what we're going to be talking about today, because at the end of the day, as real estate risk changes, there's many different ways in which we can profit in real estate. Tonight, we're going to be talking about co-living. Co-living, key points. We're going to talk about the property selection and opportunity areas, market indicators to look at when you're trying to find these properties that are good for the co-living arena, flood zone areas in which we highly recommend you stay within the 500-year or no flood plain to put these properties in, area active in comp sales activities, floor plans and conversions for new build and renovation, and then we're also going to look at a deal analyzer example screenshot there for you guys to see. Now, exactly what is co-living? Well, I think a lot of people have been doing this for a long time, right? Renting out a couch, right? Renting out a room. But now that they've actually, our partner PadSplit has put this into a fully functioned operating machine, this is where we come in on the renovation and on the new build side as investors to partake in this great investment. Living spaces that are well designed, fully furnished with incidentals. All utilities are paid, no contracts. These are different ways that people right now are starting to look at living, because as we like to see, rising rents are starting to go through the roof, and which means There's a lot of people that are about to be displaced and they don't know it yet. And unfortunately, the economy, inflation, different levels of market are causing people to do that. The United States is currently in the middle of an affordable housing crisis. Basically, too many people are needing places to live, but not enough housing. The nation's most economically insecure citizens are becoming homeless, and rental rates are becoming sky high. And obviously, that is a factor of the supply and demand opportunity, in which, you know, who's going to bid the highest, who's going to pay the most for the homes. Actually, we saw that in the house right recently with home sales when the rates were very low. I don't know if you guys have noticed, since the rates have started to rise, that market has started to slow down. 1/5 of the population spends over half of their income on rent, guys. We still have other consumables, gas to get to work, transportation costs, general living costs, groceries, utilities. All those things have also increased in cost. So that means now we're being squeezed, or the people that are unable to pay those rents now are having to look at other places to go. And that really means displacement, not just to the level of leaving that rental space, but in other places, leaving the cities in which they're working to other places, guys. What are the market long-term benefits? Underprivileged populations are going to have better opportunities for housing. Underdeveloped areas are going to begin to stabilize faster, and co-housing residents can begin to grow roots in their community, and also faster land and improvement appreciation is going to happen, because what we're doing is helping establish an actual market and start to create comparable sales and actually start to generate an economic ecosystem within those neighborhoods, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And investment value can increase as rental rates rise. Look at this as a performing investment similar to a commercial grade product. It is a residential conforming product, but think about it as the performance of the rent is going to give you more of a premium value. So that's what you need to think about. And city and county tax money can increase development in those areas, because a lot of opportunity zones are exactly that. They're to increase the taxable amounts for those areas, which in turn then cause redevelopment, right? Better schools, better infrastructure, better overall retail that's out there. Now, one of the main things for the renovation and new builds is because there is city to city population displacement. It's getting even worse. You have people that are moving from large metroplexes all the way now down to not the smaller towns, but getting down to the level of where we're talking economies of less than 500 to 600 homes in an area. That tells you guys that that shedding is starting to create pressure in every single one of those levels. So what happens to the main infrastructure? Well, people have to start finding people that are willing to pay more for what an average sacker at a grocery store would do. Well, what does that do to the cost of the groceries now, right? All those costs have to be passed on. So we have to start thinking about this. This is just not localized. It's something that's getting out there. And most of all, we are in the housing arena. For those of you that are active investors, flippers, as we like to say, any of those high price renovations can be converted to maximize income. So think about when a wholesaler or a realtor brings you a property and you see that the cost of values in the 85th, 90th percentile, that doesn't make sense to do an active flip because there's not enough meat on the bone, right, guys? But definitely as a passive investment, single family, single tenant, it does. But watch what it's going to do when you bring in more people to live under one roof. It exponentially grows your rents, guys. And by it having higher rents, basically collecting more rents, you're able to navigate through any of the hiccups that might occur with the economy, right? So you got to think about those. Lack of inventory makes new builds the right exit strategy. That's exactly right. We can't just magically grow properties. We have to start building them, right? So that's why areas in which, for example, the Houston metropolitan area, there's areas in which home sales are not good, but have a lot of abundant land in which you can build on. You're not establishing a comp, guys, there. What you're doing is establishing a pace of growth in the new development and new build arena, which, as we know, when more people start to build in the same area, it starts to create sales. It starts to create appreciation, which we're going to see that here in a little bit. And then also private capital investments are higher than ever before because we're seeing a lot more private capital moving into this arena because your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac agency type lenders are not in this particular space right now. Once they grasp and once they see that it's got a little bit of traction, which it's happening very, very fast, we'll start to see some of these products available in the secondary markets and things like that for mortgages. But before we go there, if you guys have any type of questions that you want to have during the presentation, I'll be happy to answer those. Make sure you put those in the Q&A section, guys, the Q&A, and then leave all of the questions to the moderator that have to do with about SVI or any type of other questions that you might have. But topic related questions, guys, feel free to put those into the Q&A. All right, let's get started. So who's our partner here? PadSplit. If you guys go to padsplit.com, you're going to find out about this amazing company in which we've already been working with them for about almost a year and a half. And they handle what we call the 4 Ps: the people, the payments, the property, and the platform. Those 4 Ps are so vital to the existence of your passive investment because they're the ones that are going to cultivate everything from start to finish. And most of all, the word that I always say about PadSplit is called retention. They're there to keep the heads in the beds, right? Because the type of opportunity this is, you have people that are the residents, right, or the members of this particular home that you're going to build or renovate. They're not going to be there long term. They're going to be there for periods of 1 month, 2 months, maybe 3 weeks. And then they're going to move on because they had to find short-term type of living. The beauty about this is that PadSplit's reputation in their past history is the average stay is about 9 months, and they have about a 90% occupancy, guys. That is phenomenal. That means they're able to work with people who want to stay in a certain area, not have an enormous rental payment, but also are there to establish roots, right? Get themselves back into saving money, not having to deal with total evictions from not having to be able to pay rents. The also great thing about this is because all the bills are paid, then everything is also furnished. All these units are furnished, in which if you guys want to reach out to us at info@StratiVentures.com, you guys can set up one-on-ones, which we'll be happy to work with you to give you more information. Now, how does it work? So imagine yourself as a host, and then you also have the residents or the actual members, the ones that are going to be living in the property. Well, what does PadSplit do for you? Well, they're going to generate leads and screen residents. They're also going to manage residents, including collections. And they're going to also have general liability insurance playbooks and a lot of deep experience in customer service tailored to the type of housing, the co-living model. I've sat through many of their customer service calls, guys, and I can tell you, if I was a landlord handling 7 people in one house, I wouldn't pass the test. But guys, they have the specialized people that are there to handle those types of requests. So also, what do you do as a host? Well, you need to acquire, renovate, and stage properties and list them on the PadSplit platform. That's exactly what you can do. So this is open to anybody around the country. But just remember this, PadSplit is in certain areas in which their platform is active. That doesn't mean you can't go put a PadSplit in another city where they're not, but just remember one thing, the 4 Ps, the people, they can help you. The payments, they can help you. The property, they can help you. But if you're not in a PadSplit market in which they're growing every single month in different markets, then that platform means that people can't find you online, book, and then at that point, then get themselves situated in one of your units. But if you are able to opt to find a unit, renovate it, and then call PadSplit yourself, they will handle everything else for you except the platform. Now, eventually it's going to get there, but just think about that, guys. You could be pioneering areas, and just knowing how to fill it up is going to be your best. It's going to be the worst case scenario. Well, guess what, guys? The supply is already there, right? You have realtors, apartment locators, Craigslist ads. You might be able to fill these up yourself, and then let PadSplit do the rest. What does PadSplit do for the members of the residents? They ensure the quality of the units and experience. They screen the roommates and manage disputes. That's why pad split has certain limitations: no married people, no couples, no kids, no pets. It's for the working person. So they will vet you or vet them for credit, income. They'll vet them for criminal past back history. All those things means that they're vetting the right people to go into the right housing in order for you to have a good amount of longevity, right? To make sure to make sure that the harmony and the retention factors there. Let's see here for the residents, find and books rooms at pad split through the platform. They rate their roommates and units, and easy bill to pay right here on the through the pad split platform. Now, what are good market indicators? Well, let's talk about those, right? What makes a good area? Well, I like to tell people a good area for co-living is the opposite of what would be a good investment, a good area for a flip. First, we want to know that there are areas that have more single people than married, because that's the type of candidate that we want to have, right? More single than married. Now, if you have a mixed use, like veteran, student housing, traveling nurses, then you want to go ahead and make sure that the area that you're going to be in does have more married people. But remember, those land values, those desirability factors are going to be higher. So you're going to be paying more for the asset, right? You're going to be paying more for what the unit is going to be. The other thing we look at is the occupancy. We want to make sure that if we are building or we are looking in areas where we are going to put a renovated product, is there's vacant and rental overpowers the ownership stake. That's a benefit in two ways. One, that means we are going to be finding lower priced homes in which we can convert and maximize. We can also find raw dirt in which we can build. But also, if we go into where there's less ownership stake, we have to be very careful that, sometimes we want to be in non-restricted, non-HOA, no zoning type of areas, in which means the neighborhood doesn't come down on the unit. Well, that's another reason why pad split is amazing. It's because they keep the harmony and they make sure that the operator, they make sure the residents are all living there correctly or living there in harmony, if you want to say that again. If I needed to say that again, it really lets people know that the house, it's for people that are living there, right? That have jobs. It's not just a halfway house, right? It's not something where most people always think it's the worst thing out there that having to do with crimes or other things. Average household incomes, we want to make sure that we're within about $40,000 to $60,000 a year for the whole household income, because at that point it's telling us that there are people with stable income, but not enough to battle the fight of whatever taxes, whatever rent rates are out there, and most of all, cost of living. So also look for this here. You can get all this data from your realtor. They'll be able to pull up what's called an economic and demographic snapshot and look for these 4 factors. And last but not least, the educational climate. This is probably the one that bugs me the most, is that in areas where we have more single people, we have higher rents, we have lower income, the schools are below par, right? They're substandard. Well, that's got to change. And so when we go in there and start establishing these households, and we start establishing more people, better commerce, better retail, more taxation, more development, instantly the majority of your taxes, and I believe in a lot of the states in the United States, all that goes to the education system. So it's going to better the schools. So that should be a long-term effect there. Let's take a look here. We said the school rating, we said the average income, we said the occupancy, and then we also said the marital status, guys. Those are the 4 key factors that we recommend always looking at an area, whether it's for renovation or whether it is for new builds. All right. What do we have to think about when we're talking about zones, flood areas, right? Well, look at your flood areas. And the only main reason why you want to try to stay away from your 100-year floodplains, it's because you have your flood insurance will play a factor to the premium. The higher the premium, the more it hits your bottom line. It's basically that simple. If you're doing new builds, guys, it's going to hit also your development cost because you may have to bring in more dirt. You might have higher elevation certificates. You might even have to change the foundation structure. That happened to us with one of our projects where we were going in slab on grade, permit approved, and all of a sudden the city said we have to take that approval back because we now rezone this to the 100-year floodplain from the 500-year floodplain. And now we have to draw a pier and beam foundation, which then back to the drawing board, guys, right? So we have to be able to make sure we try to stay away from them. But again, it's if you're in an area where it's in the 500-year, take a look at your flood policies. Another important thing to look at, guys, when picking an area for this is look at the compactivity for the past year to 2 years. Is this a dead zone? Have there been sales? Have those sales are all on renovated homes, or are those sales on new construction? When you start to see areas that are gentrifying, you're going to see a 1 to 2 year history on the new builds. Those are the ones, and those are the areas you need to go into, because you're going to have appraised values of as is right now, appraised value at time of putting the project together, a new appraised value when the permits come out, and then you'll have a higher appraised value whenever the property is completely done, and then you'll refinance it to a long-term mortgage. So you're actually gaining appreciation while this is being built. That's why most passive investors, they don't worry about appreciation. They only worry about cash flow. Here, you're going to be getting the best of both. So think about that. And don't forget, you can reach out to us and we'd be happy to get to the, how would I say, to the bottom of all your questions, right? Because this is, we have a short period of time there. And for those of you that are putting questions in the chat room and the chat box, please move those over to the Q&A, I believe, in order for us to be able to answer those. So thank you so much for doing that. Let me go right here. Okay. These are what some co-living renovations look like, guys. So you take a standard home like this on the renovation. It has 4 bedrooms, and you're converting the living room, or you're converting a great room or a home office into the other 2 bedrooms. So this becomes a renovated 4-bedroom now to a renovated 6-bedroom. Highly recommend calling padsplit.com or emailing them, because they have all of the logistics there in which they'll state things like what are the legal ramifications per that county, per that municipality or that city? What is the best way to approach what we call the bathroom to bedroom ratio? Usually it's about 3 people per shared bathroom. That's why I like new construction, because everybody gets independent bathroom and the rents are higher because of that. And then you also look at any type of legal matters that are required in order to have one of these on the ground, right? So it's always check with PadSplit, because that's the whole point, is that they've been in business and actually have the legal side that handles all of that. Conversion plans, also look at the fit and the finishes that are being placed. You're looking at granite, shaker cabinets, luxury vinyl. You're putting stainless steel appliances. These are very nice units for people that deserve nice housing. Unfortunately, they can't pay all the prevailing rents. Living room conversions is you take the great room here, which is a living room, put a wall right here, and now you actually created a hallway for the living room, in which makes this here an actual bedroom. So those floor plans, guys, we're happy to look at those with you to give you how to maximize that. But also know that you want to check with PadSplit to find out if those are actually going to be good, right? They're the ones that are going to be handling the process of getting these filled. So they might want to let you know if they can tackle this beast or not. Look at this floor plan here, guys. It was a living room. One wall went down the middle, created a sub hallway right here. And you have 1 bedroom sharing half of the chimney. Think about that. You just maximized the room there, guys. A lot of things to consider too are having egress, having type of fire code factors that are there to protect the residents. Let's take a look at bathrooms. Creating accessibility to get into bathrooms, a new hallway. Maybe your master bathroom your master bedroom is big enough that you can put an actual hallway at the entrance of that master bedroom, which creates now the bedroom in the back, and then you can actually create a pathway to the bathroom. And now you just created a bathroom for another 2 bedrooms there without having to bring in a whole other bathroom, guys. Let's take a look at now the numbers, right? And feel free, guys, to put your questions in the Q&A. And I'm going to run through this a little fast. Remember, we're limited on time, but know that you can reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to walk you through these step by step. On the one-on-ones, when I'm working with people for co-housing or co-living and pad split here, I usually spend about 1.5 hours to 2 hours with you guys. So don't hesitate to get to know this whole platform. The main key numbers that we want you to understand is if on a renovation, you have the acquisition, you have the after repaired value, and you have your renovation. You also have what we call your add costs, which are your appraisals, inspections, development, if you have to do permitting because you're adding other electrical or plumbing features to the property. And let's say you have your annual taxes there. So right now, if we were to look at all of these numbers here, then if you were wanting to do a flip, you'd have to pay about $131,000 for the property in order for this to be at about a 70% cost to value. If you wanted to go into a single family rental, 1 person, 1 house, we recommend keeping it at around 75% because again, you're going to need more wiggle room, right? You're going to need more advantage to get out of this in case you're stuck with paying the whole note because you have 1 person. And for co-housing, we can go, guys, up to 105% of value. But I'm thinking right now, the best scenario is about an 85% number, cost of value. So you're able to pay around $168,000. So I put here 167. Now, this is where your numbers flow down to your cost of value. You have your purchase, you have your developmental, taxes, all your ad costs, your taxes and your closing costs. So your acquisition's around 180,000. That's including everything, guys. But your purchase is 167. You have your 30 in renovation, so your total project cost is around 210. And so if you're in it for 210 and we have an appraised value of 250, your CTV becomes 84%. When you take on the renovation, get a hard money loan or whatever loan you're able to obtain for just the acquisition side. And remember, guys, your acquisition was 167, which happens to be right below 70% of the appraised value of 250. You're bringing in the renovation budget yourself, guys, because there is money in this space that you need to park. It's not like the Burr method, guys, where you're just finding a flip to refinance it into a long-term. But if you were to get purchasing money from a hard money lender at 11.3 for 3 months for the project duration, you'd pay around $10,384 in cost. So remember, your 180 plus your 30,000 plus your 10,000 means your total loan or total investment is $220,979 because that's encompassing all your costs. That means you're now not at 85% from when you first started, but you're now at 88% because of the holding cost number there. Now you have to refinance this, guys. When you refinance this, you are refinancing a completed conforming conventional product of the bedrooms without the conversions. It's the house that you renovated. You have not yet converted this to the additional bedrooms. That happens post renovation, guys. It's the same way as if you bought a house and then you wanted to go ahead and add the garage and convert it. Your lender's fine with that. If you wanted to turn your game room into 2 more bedrooms to house family, a lot of people are doing that now, guys, because people are moving in with people. Your lenders are okay with that. So let's take a look. If the appraised value is 250, let me actually do this here. It might be easier for me here. If your appraised value is 250, the hard money lender, your long-term lender is not going to lend you more than 80%, and your total cost to value is 88%. So plus or minus 10% down brings you to $22,000 of down payment required. You have already, in this scenario, put $30,000 in renovated money. You're going to get some money back at the closing table. Now, mind you, if this ARV gets higher, you're going to bring less money to the table, which means more money you're getting back. And that's something that we can discuss through lending guidelines. So if 80% of the after repaired or constructed value is 198, then at 5.5 rates, which right now, guys, I highly recommend looking at interest-only products, which are going to be somewhere around, 5.3, 5.5. I know rates are going up on the investor side. So this is an arbitrary number, guys. Don't freak out saying, oh, I saw 7%. Well, everything depends on the area, depends on the experience, depends on the reserves that you've got. But I'm going to use 5.5, which means your principal and interest is $1,129. Your annual taxes of $4,500 now equal $375 a month. All utilities paid, which is about a $600 schedule approximate. And then you have your insurance for the property of $1,400. You're looking at a total expenditure around $2,222 a month for basically your operating cost here, right? So let's say that property was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home that we found. Now, mind you, right now, we have so many people that have large homes that are empty nesters, or people that live in large houses. They're starting to downsize, guys. That's costing them too much to keep a bigger house. So look for some of the larger houses out there. Remember, no zoning, no HOA, no restrictions, makes it easier for you to comply. But if we turn that 4-bedroom, 3-bath now into 1 bedroom with a private bath, and then these 6 additional rooms, which are bedrooms, and then a conversion of the dining room, a conversion of the living room, and a conversion maybe of a home office, you have your 6-1 right here. That's a total of 7 bedrooms. Let's say your private bath pulls 160 a week. That's about 640 a month. Your 6 with no private baths that are sharing 3 bedrooms, sharing 1 bath at 140, bringing in 3,360 a month. So your total gross is $4,000. For those of you that are wondering, that's never going to fly, that's impossible, call PadSplit. Check their track record, find out 100% what their growth has been, which has been exponential. This is a way of putting premium products on the ground for you to maximize. If your gross rents are $4,000, then PadSplit for that platform, the 4 Ps that I spoke about, is about 15%, 12 to 15%. Basically, you need to call them for that. $600. So now you're netting $3,400 a month. If you're netting $3,400 a month, then you have annual rents of $40,000, and your annual utilities are $26,000. Your annual gross cash flow is around $14,000. Remember, I said earlier that you have to start looking at this as a commercial grade performance product. Most banks on a commercial grade will look at something called the debt service coverage ratio. They want to see between 1.1 to 1.25, and this thing right now is doing 1.53. That is a breath of fresh air to anybody lending money long-term, which says we can actually take vacancies. We can actually reduce rents. We can actually start to maneuver with the market because we have a little bit of wiggle room here before this thing becomes now a negative performing asset. Again, check with us one-on-ones. We can walk you through this. So this 14,000 that's left after you have your gross rent, your net rents minus your utilities, obviously your expenditures, leaves $14,000. The P for the 4 Ps, the property one, that's your local type of property management. PadSplit handles everything except for the local property management, not the traditional property management that's out there, but for cleaning the common areas of the house 1 or 2 times a month, preventive maintenance, cutting the grass, some of the turnouts that occur. Those are all there. This number, you can gauge it however high you want, or low, or how rich or fair do you want it to be. But if you look at deducting here around 2,400, which is about an average, we're looking at $11,749, which is about $979 in cash flow. And look what your out-of-pocket expense was, $28,000. The reason we got to 28, guys, is because the down payment, and then you had your refinancing closing costs. So I went ahead and added that there. That's how you got to 28,000, guys. That makes it right at 42% your cash on cash return. And this is basing numbers at 640 for the ones with bathrooms. I was recently with PadSplit in Las Vegas, speaking with them at one of their national partnerships with some of their partners, and they're estimating market rates in some of the main districts of the United States that they're in to start at around $200 a week, guys. I'm going conservative here, guys, about 200. On the new build side, even better. The numbers get even better. Your average person who is a passive investor with one tenant is buying homes at around 185,000, down payments of 20%, cash flows around 350 to 450, and their annual ROI is around 8 to 11%. Let's think about that, right? We got to put ourselves in a better situation. Let's talk about new builds. Let me see, how am I on time? I got to speed it up a little bit. For those of you that are wanting to do new builds, call us. We have something called the Dirt to Keys program. What timelines are expected for new builds? Well, 1 to 2 days is where we talk to you about the short-term and long-term lender qualifications, because your lender has to know, literally, right, about the project. Land prospecting reviews. We can find properties for you, put them all together, package it, present it to you for acquisition. You can also bring us properties that you think might be favorable to this, and we can run numbers and put all that in your hands. Then we go into planning, site, and permitting once we've acquired a property, which takes about 3 to 4 months, depending on the city in which you're wanting to do this. And then we also have the build and scheduling team meetings, are around 1 to 2 days, where you meet the builder. We go over selections, we go over the pricing per square foot, and then we also talk about the draw schedules that have been approved by the lender and the builder to make sure this flows very, very easy. We also go into the short-term construction loan, meaning that once it comes out of permitting, we have to get you into the short-term construction loan. So what's always highly recommended is that you buy the asset, you buy the raw dirt, and you pledge that towards the construction lending. Then you go into a 4 to 5 month build process if everything goes well, right? If we're not having to battle material upticks and then having to wait for the pricing to drop, or if we're having to be delayed because of labor shortages. This has happened to us already in numerous projects, guys, and it's unprecedented. It's something that we've never experienced in the past, but we've seen lumber packages from 1 week to the other go from $28,000 up to $62,000. We have to make sure it's better to wait a little bit of time, wait for it to go down and stabilize, and then we can go in and continue. Because why spend 40 extra thousand on a project when you could have waited another 3 to 4 weeks to get it correctly, right? So there's a balance here. We go into the long-term refinance, 21 days from the final completion of the build, and then you're onboarded one day to PadSplit, and all the properties are furnished, in which you'll go also through the purchasing and the selections of your materials. It's a really neat process, guys. In new construction, there are what we call third-party planning and permitting costs, which you have to make sure that you're ready to absorb them. Things such as the soil tests, right? We have to test the soils and make sure that we can actually put a property on there. And that also tells the engineers what kind of foundations are allowed. We look for boundary and land surveys for the units. We also look for topography for any kind of drainage mitigation, or if we have to bring in more dirt. We also go into replats. Some of you guys might have a large tract of land. Might need to replat it into something smaller to put one unit, and then you can parcel off the other bits of tract of land. That's normally in areas where the land is very expensive, guys, right? Where we recommend replatting. Elevation certificates. These are all based off of proposed flood, proposed foundation, and also drainage and mitigation plans if you are in a flood zone. Building permits, wastewater and utilities, and also permit expediting. I would tell you that the bane of our existence in the last year has been the city's permitting offices, where they have literally held hostage a lot of projects. They've also basically are telling people that there's no expediting services, so they are having you check with other premium expediters. So now you're paying premiums to have the same thing done. And we've seen plans that have gone through in 2.5 months, and we have plans that took them 8.5 to 9 months to go through, guys. It is insane. So prepare yourself. It's about, this is a marathon, not a sprint. What is being built on the new construction are our 1665 square foot and our 1770 square foot units. These are our front entry units, which have a rear exit, but within there, the floor plans all have bedrooms with baths. This is where we get the 4-bedroom, 4-bath conforming product. This is what's being put out to the city for permitting. So the plans are being permitted like this. A dining room, a home office, a living room, and a kitchen. But in the same plans that were approved by the city already knows that we have future casted what? Plumbing grounds here. Because this dining room, we might want to put a bathroom in here, which now for the time being is what? It's a storage closet. We might want to have a living room here or turn this into a game room. And then we might want to put another bathroom in there. And the same thing goes here for the home office, having a private bath if you wanted to have that. Now, what do we do with the conversions? Well, I'll explain that here in just a second. We have our center entry homes for the longer lots where you want to put one in the front, one in the back, and have a common drive down the middle or to the side. We have the center entry homes with the side back door. These floor plans look like this. The entrance is down the middle. Let me get this over here. What happened to my mouse? Come on, there we go. These floor plans have the entry here, not here, and it's the same 4-bedroom, 4-bath here, and then each one of these is going to have its conversion once it's refinanced, and that's done post-conversion there, guys. This is what it looks like after the conversion. 4 bedrooms, 4 baths on the front entry right here. Now has the home office. It is here, dining with a space. Now all of that is going to look like this. The bathrooms are going to be installed, plugged in right here. So now we put some walls right here, and we put the bathroom here, and now we actually have 7 bedrooms, 7 baths. Super simple conversion that happens post refinance, and it should take about 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks to do. Some states in which we're in, we're going to need to call for permits, and so that's another bit of waiting time. But again, this is all 100% standard and can be done. Some people like for the front entry to have the bedrooms sharing a common bath. Right here, like these orange ones are all sharing this one bath. Some of them might like that feature because it's easier to convert back into a single family resident home, very easy if you ever wanted to remodel it, upgrade it, and sell it, depending on what the market's doing in that area. I personally myself would say if you're getting this as a cash flow unit, maximize it, do the 7 bedroom, 7 bath, and then eventually you might be able to basically get more for the raw dirt than the bricks and the sticks of what it took for you to do that. Here are what the numbers look like. Same exact scenario. It's a cost to value scenario. We're building right now at around $120 a square foot because costs have risen, guys. 1,770 square feet. Architectural, engineering, taxes, site and development here, including the land acquisition cost. That means the total after constructed value is around $313,000. So if we come right here and do the land, site and development, architectural and engineering, taxes and closing, expect $100,000 to come out of pocket, right, to do this first phase. Then you have your build cost of 1,770 square feet for around $212,000 right here. That gets you your total project cost of $313,000. The reason why this shows 100% guys cost of value is that we're using two types of appraisals. One's called the cost approach. If you put $1 in it, it's worth $1. The other one's called the market approach, is you put $1 in it and people are willing to pay $3. Then that's a comp, right? Then you have a different after constructed value. I'm going worst case scenario here, saying that from when you buy the dirt to when it's finally refinanced, nothing has happened in the market and you're still at 100% cost of value. It's not going to happen, because remember, there's appreciation in other builds in that area supporting this, or else we wouldn't have gone into the project. You're buying the land and you're going to be pledging the land towards the construction loan, basically doing the opposite of what you did on the renovation. And then you're financing the construction loan for 6 months. That's your total cost of construction money. Again, this is arbitrary depending on where you qualify. So now your 315, which is this plus this, now became 326, which is right at including the 13,000 in holding cost. Now you have 104% cost of value. Do not let that scare you, ladies and gentlemen, because your lender, this 104 might be different. Remember, later on after it's built, because this might come in at 325, 340, 350, which means this becomes below 100, which means you're bringing less money to the table. So now let's say worst case scenario at 104 cost of value. The lender's not going to lend you more than 75%, which is 235. So the remaining number is $28,000. Well, I'm sorry, 28%. Well, remember that 28% is around 91,000, which is about the amount of money you pledged in the initial purchase, and you're moving that developed lot now into collateral to get the what? The long-term financing. So you're technically not bringing any more money to the table. But even if you had to, this is about how much money you have parked in an asset and what are the benefits of it. 98,000 is the total amount, including closing costs for your third-party refinance. You have a total loan amount of 235,300 at 75% from your after constructed value. You have a 6% rate. 30-year mortgage is 1,411. Your annual taxes, 417 per month. Your utilities and all expenses paid, and your annual insurance, you're at 2,644 a month in expenditures. We're now doing 7 bedrooms with private baths. Conservatively here, a number of $200 a week makes it now $5,600 in total cash flow of the set for the 7 units, private baths. 15% from Pat Split's platform leaves you $4,760. Your debt service coverage ratio is at 1.8. You're now looking at 57 in collected rents, 31,000 in expenditures, 25,000 in cash flow. Take out your annual maintenance cost reserves for that P, right? The property side leaves you 22,591. Remember that this is a new unit, so your capital expenditures might be later on in life because this is a brand new product. And then also new tends to get a better premium. Right now, you're looking at about 1,800 in cash flow off of 98,000 in invested money. That's a 23% cash on cash rate of return. This is using conservative numbers, guys. This is telling you that you're having over allowed cost of values, not using any fluctuation for the market that increases on the rents because you're doing them week by week, month to month. It's not like you're locking down a tenant for 2 years and then you can't raise the rent for 2 years. So those are very key factors that it's great to think about. So I'd like to answer some questions here. And I'd like to also share and give a big thanks to the partners of the co-living team at SVI, which is Pad Split for their platform. Dancy Design handles all our architectural and engineering. Home Selection Consulting, it does all the selections and working with our project management and builders. Real Property Management Avitus does all the property management, which is the localized tenant and the localized services. Trident Capital Connections handles all of our lending guidelines from construction all the way to refinance. And then our partners of Anderson for formations, because we highly do recommend that you put these into an entity in order to work correctly. If you want to know more information about us, please feel free to call us, email us, or check us out on either one of these web pages, or you can scan the QR code and then you can find out more about us and set up your one-on-ones. So let's answer some questions. Let's see here. Does your mortgage company need to know what you're doing? Your mortgage company, depending on whether it's traditional, is going to only be able, like walking into Wells Fargo, Agnes, is going to need to know that you're building a home or renovating or buying a house to make it single family resident compliant, which means there's going to be an appraisal, and there's going to be an appraisal pre and post to getting this done. So yes, they're going to know what you're doing, but on the renovation to go into co-living, it's basically not of their concern. I would be more worried is of the usage of the municipality, saying, are they governing or restricting that type of housing? So that's why you check with Pad Split. Let Pad Split handle that for you. Anna asks, what is the time length for the setup process? When you say setup process, it depends. If you're going to go and talk about the renovation side, depends on the reno, right? It could be 0 to 3 months and then you're converted. New construction, I always say a lot, 12 months, right? We don't know what's going to happen with supply, weather, permitting. So a lot about 12 months. You also ask, can one live in the property or does it have to be fully rented? No, I think you can, but I would check with Pad Split because they might have some kind of restrictions to making sure the property is operating, because they want to be able to do their job, guys. Okay, so good question there, Anna. Sam asked, cities have restrictions on the numbers of unrelated people living in their house. I've heard fines are massive in cities that have a statute. Yes, this is not for everybody, Sam. So I highly recommend checking with Pad Split, because the markets that they're going into, in which I recommend following, that's why their network and that's why the platform is active there. It's because they have all of that. Technically, is Pad Split becomes your tenant, and the borrower or the people that are going to live there are going to be members of Pad Split, because Pad Split is the one you're signing. The Pad Split is signing the lease with you. So take a look at that and check with Pad Split, and they'll give you better clarity with that. Is this boarding or room share, is it legal in Harris or Montgomery County? It's exactly the same thing. It's done through the membership, and it's done through Pad Split holding the actual master lease on this, guys. So it's perfectly fine. Let me see. We had an anonymous attendee says, utilities costs have jumped considerably in the past year. How do you control utility costs? Well, I like to say this. There's a one governing AC system, right? You have a Nest. If it gets hot, take your sweater off. If it gets cold, put it on. Making sure that people aren't leaving windows open. So I like to say what Pad Split says, it's like you have 7 spies inside each house, and because the members are rating each other, it's a lot easier to find out if there's utility issues or there's maintenance issues that are arising. So that's a great question. Is a 2-story a good property for co-living? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Try not to have that many people obviously living on the upstairs, but check with Pad Split. They have a lot more experience with the 2-story. But I would say if you're building ground up, 2-story is perfect, because you're able to you could split the rooms off to one side to the other, or there's buffering factors, just many different things there. What is the average cost when a permit is held up for 8 months in Houston? What is the average cost? A permit can run anywhere from $1,200 to $2,100. It really doesn't matter what the length of time is. It's more of that the city has the wrong players and they're reviewing these things, right? Or balking because of certain things. Does StratiVentures or Pad Split have a wholesale cost for some of their materials? Well, the Dirt to Keys program that we have is about 8% project management, which is about $20,000 per unit developed and put into your lab. You can do this on your own. We have people that are doing it on their own, and we can provide those tools. We do have an actual membership program for that. But if you would like for us to take on beginning to end, it's $20,000 per unit, which in the one-on-ones, we can actually walk you through the step-by-step to get to know that. It's really a fraction of what it's going to hit your bottom line. So that was a great question there, Agnes. Thanks for asking. Kendrick asks, so is this a benefit to own the land out? Yes. Owning the land, Kendrick, is vital because it gives you the collateral and leverage to pledge that towards your construction loan, but also know that when you're pledging that land to your long-term loan, then at that point, you're bringing the money required for collateral. So yes, builders do it all the time. That's how builders get their construction loans. Steve asked, is parking ever provided to the tenants? Yes, great question, Steve. On the lots, we like to set the houses where people can actually drive to the back of the house wherever there's backyard space, because that becomes parking. And those of you guys that live in Texas, you know everybody drives, right? So that because there's non-restricted, non-HOA, non-zoning areas, then people can park on the street. Not everybody in this type of housing is going to drive either, so that we like to make sure they're near bus stops, right? Transit, there's Uber, there's many different things now that a lot of people are using when they're saving money. Steve, that was a great question there, sir. Bintu, what are the best markets for pad splits right now? All right, go to padsplit.com, and wherever they are, those are the markets, Bintu, because those are the markets they've already started to go in and establish the legal, establish the platform, establish the base vendors there, and we can go to any of those markets and provide these services for you guys. So that's a good question. There are other markets that we can research one-on-one, but we have to do somewhat of a better study there. How does PadSplit offer their member security safety during their stays? Well, everybody is vetted out to the best of the knowledge and possibilities that PadSplit offers. But at the end of the day, and they've recently started doing this, is they're moving into having you as the host actually give the final okay of the person that's going to be in that house. I understand where it's coming from. Security, men, females, all walks of life. So PadSplit does the best they can for rating and adding somebody to obviously that household. Does PadSplit, let's see here, great question there, Anna. Does SVI offer one floor plan that we can customize? Yes, absolutely. We've got plans for 2-story, we've got plans for 1-story, we've got plans for student housing, we've got plans for assisted living, which we're doing one and starting here. I believe they're going into their builder meetings this week in Florida. So yes, just simply give us a call, Bintu, we can have that for you. And we can show you. Agnes asks, sorry, what's the average holding cost when you have to wait an extra 6 months to wait for permitting? That's going to depend on, well, here's the thing, Agnes. If you bought the land and you're going to build, there's no extra holding costs because you haven't started to use the construction money. So there's no holding costs because you paid for the land. If you are going into renovation, then if you're having to apply for permitting to renovate while you're holding your hard money loan, then hard money loans are interest only. And that means you'd be paying extra interest payments that you should have already known. So it just depends on where you're getting your money from. Sergio Sepulveda, you raised your hand. Can you put that question in the Q&A if you don't mind? And then we'll make that the last question. Is there a main contact within PadSplit that deals more frequently with us? Yes. You can check. Well, we've got, basically they've deployed their whole team with us. Ask for Ariel. She's going to be handling the California, Denver, that market. Ask for Ray if you're in the Florida, Southeastern market. Ask for, let's see, Nick Bauer. He's in the northeastern part of the United States. or just simply call them. Go to padsplit.com or sales@padsplit.com. Tell them that if you're an SVI member, they're going to treat you very, very good. And Sergio asked, is this webinar being recorded? Great question. Yes, Sergio. All our webinars are recorded. All the sessions that we do, you can find them on YouTube through our channel at StratiVentures. Go to Instagram, go to Facebook. If you scan here this, you'll know more about SVI. And just feel free to give us a ring, guys. We're here to answer questions. I know these webinars take they're not enough time, but we want to respect people's time and their family time. So I really want to thank everybody that joined us this evening. Don't forget, guys, we do have Realtor Advantage training for all of the realtors that are out nationally. If you guys want to find out more about working with SVI and how to work with investors, this is a free 3-hour training that we do online. Check at investorrealestatetraining.com in the events page and register for the up and coming one. We also have, for all of you guys that are wholesalers or wanting to engage in real estate for the first time, we have something called the Basics that was just recently launched. It's there. And don't forget to visit us at StratiVentures.com or Investor Real Estate Training to know more about us. So with that, everybody, thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you next webinar 2 weeks from now, which we're going to be talking about private money lending with one of our great friends, Steve Ying. I think you guys will be impressed. Have a good evening, everybody.